Going live. Okay. Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. Greetings. Hope all of you are doing well. Let us start with a Shanti Mantra. Please chant from the, this is a stanza from the well-known hymn, Shiva Mahimna Stotram. This Shiva Mahimna Stotram was composed by a Gandharva named Pushpadanta, describing the glories of Lord Shiva. And this is on page 170 of this book, The Universal Prayers. English translation is on page 171. Let us start with the base chant. Om Namo Nedishthaya Priyadavadavishthaya cha Namo Namah Shodishthaya Smarahara Mahisthaya cha Namaha Namo Varshishthaya Trinayana Yavisthaya cha Namo Namah Sarvasmaite Tajidamati Sarvaya cha Namaha Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Our loving salutations to the Lord Shiva, who is unattached, who is nearest and yet the farthest. Salutations to Shiva, the destroyer of animal passions in us, who is the smallest of the small and yet the greatest of the great. Salutations to Shiva, the possessor of the highest wisdom, who is ancient and yet ever youthful. Salutations to Shiva, who is all things, seen and unseen, and yet beyond them all. May He, the Lord, bestow His grace upon us all. Om peace. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. And may there be peace everywhere in nature. The topic for this morning's study is In Search of Happiness. This topic of happiness has been studied from the earliest times by the ancient sages, philosophers, scholars, and everyone. Everyone is seeking happiness. Everyone, without exception, seeks happiness. He seeks happiness, but few find it. Looking at it one way, happiness is the theme of Vedanta. You know, we're all students of Vedanta. In Vedanta, what do we study? Vedanta is described as the philosophy of the Upanishads. Upanishads are the last part of the Vedas. What do the Upanishads describe? The major theme of the Upanishads is the self, which is called Brahman or Atman. And the Upanishad says every one of the beings, not only human beings, all other beings also are that Brahman. Sarvam Kalu Idam Brahma, says the Chandogya Upanishad. Everything is Brahman. Whole universe is Brahman. And we are not aware of that nature. What is Brahman? Brahman is infinite, eternal, pure consciousness, absolute bliss. Brahman is described in the Taittiriya Upanishad as Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Brahman is Satyam, eternal, unchanging, always there. Jnanam is consciousness, pure consciousness, not conditioned consciousness that we all have. Our consciousness is related to objects. We are conscious of something. But pure awareness, pure consciousness is Brahman. Objectless awareness. Jnanam, Anantam, infinite. And in the Upanishad, there was a sage named Varuna, and his son Bhrigu was the student, father was the teacher. Bhrigu approaches his father, "Sir, please teach me about Brahman. I have heard that we are all Brahman. I am Brahmasmi, I am Brahman." Upanishad says, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says. So what is Brahman? Bhrigu gives some instructions. You have to meditate on Brahman, that from which everything has come, that by which everything is pervaded, that reality into which everything recedes back at the end of the cycle, that is Brahman. Go and meditate about it. So Bhrigu says, Varuna goes, Bhrigu goes and meditates. Father is Varuna, Varunam Pitaram Upasasara. Son is Bhrigu. Bhrigu gets father's instructions to meditate on Brahman, from which everything comes, everything is provided, by which everything is provided, etc. And then it comes to the conclusion that Ananda Brahma, supreme absolute bliss, is Brahman. Anandam Brahmete Vyajanat. So Ananda means supreme happiness, not the worldly happiness we experience in our day-to-day life, which is highly conditional and fleeting, related to objects, everything being condition being fulfilled. That not that kind of conditional fleeting happiness, but real, eternal, infinite, unconditional, infinite Ananda bliss. That is our true nature. We are that. Not a quality we have. If it is a quality we have, then it may go up and down, vary, it may come and go. But that's our true nature. We intrinsically are that. That is the teaching of the Upanishad. So Upanishad says we are that happiness, what we are seeking in various ways. We are seeking to know our true nature. If you only knew what we truly are, then all seeking stops. Every time, all day, everybody is seeking something. Various things they seek. We'll see that. Why they are seeking? This seeking means something that I don't have, I want to have. The feeling of incompleteness, emptiness, that is what we have. If you only knew that we are that absolute reality, Brahman, infinite bliss, then seeking happiness. Not only people, animals also seek comfort and safety. So let us see what's the nature of true happiness. Sri Ramakrishna and other teachers have talked about three kinds of happiness. Most common type of happiness which everybody is familiar with is worldly happiness. We'll talk about that. What is worldly happiness? Everybody seeks. But that is not all. The second kind of happiness, which also many people know and they seek, that is called Bhajanananda. First one is called Vishayananda. Vishaya Sukha. Vishaya means sense object. Happiness coming from sense objects. Sense object can be another person. It's a possession, property, or maybe something. Second kind of happiness, the joy that comes from worship, various kinds of worship. But there is a third kind of happiness, which comes from knowing our true nature. We are that, even now we have always been that, nothing else. But due to whatever reason, Maya or whatever, our true nature is covered. We are not aware of it. So becoming aware of our true nature as absolute happiness, infinite joy, that is the ultimate happiness. That never changes. It is intrinsic. It does not have to come from outside, from some other person or object or situation. That's our true nature. If you only knew that, then all seeking stops and we will enjoy that. It is eternal, infinite. No, nothing can change it. So these three kinds of happiness, let us examine them one by one. First one is worldly happiness, called Vishyananda or Vishayasaka. Vishya means sense object. In so many ways, people seek happiness. Everybody seeks happiness in a different way. Some common ways in which people seek happiness are, first of all, acquiring wealth. The contention being that if I acquire more money, have more property, more houses, then it will make me happier, more the better. That is one way people seek happiness, wealth, property. In terms of possession, jewelry, cars, and other things people like to buy and possess. Possession brings happiness. That is the contention. Whether it is true or not, we'll have to examine. People collect things, collection. Some people collect various kinds of rocks. Some people collect stamps. Some people collect coins, numismatics, philately. Dale, the famous comedian collects cars. It seems that he has 200 expensive motorcycles, about the same number of cars. These are not ordinary Toyota Corolla cars. These are all antique cars. He talks about them in a television show. Possession, collection brings happiness. That's the contention. One, property, material. Second thing in which people seek happiness is love, relationship. People find happiness, comfort, pleasure in relationships, marriage, spouse, children, grandchildren, friends, relatives, having relationship, loving relationship, that brings comfort, happiness. Second. Third way in which people seek happiness is seeking success in some pursuit, such as scholarship, science, politics, sports, business, and other entertainment things like travel, hobbies, etc. That is the third way in which people seek happiness. The fourth way in which people seek happiness is people sometimes resort to immoral, illegal things, which are unusual, but a lot of people do that one. For example, gambling. Some people uh, resort to violence. For example, dog fighting. Some people take great pleasure in training dogs to fight with each other, and they have to fight and kill each other. Otherwise, they will be killed. There was this famous football player, Michael Vick. He used to be a quarterback for Atlanta Falcons, and he was doing dog fighting, which is illegal. Animal violence is illegal in this society, but people don't mind resorting to illegal, immoral things because that brings them happiness. Weird kind of things people do to find happiness. So these are various ways in which people seek happiness. This kind of happiness is really not happiness at all from the Vedantic point of view. Why it is not happiness? Though a lot of people do these things to find happiness, what is the problem with this kind of happiness? Why not we keep doing it? There are five things which can be which characterize this kind of worldly happiness, which make this worldly happiness futile. To seek happiness in these things is futile. They cannot give you happiness. For a time, it may bring some pleasure. Let us see what's the problem with this kind of happiness. Majority of people seek happiness in these ways. First of all, it is fleeting, short-lived. Secondly, it is highly conditional. Conditional means if I have to find happiness from in marriage, the partner must be loving also. If you have to find happiness in children, they must be also good children. If they do bad things, they will bring unhappiness instead of bringing happiness. So like this relationship is a conditional kind of happiness. The other party must respond for the relationship to bring happiness. If the other party does not respond, then there is only misery, no happiness in that relationship. Third defect with this kind of happiness is it is cannot be it has a short lifespan. After some time, the same object which brought happiness fails to bring happiness. And the fourth kind of problem with this kind of happiness is, in the long run, enjoyment of physical pleasures depletes the sense organs. In old age comes, we cannot enjoy the things we enjoyed in youth. The pleasures of youth, which brought us so much happiness when we were young and strong, the same objects, experiences cannot bring happiness when the body loses its power to enjoy happiness. Fulfillment of sensory pleasures depletes the acuity of the sense organs to enjoy. So forever it will not give happiness. The fifth problem with this kind of happiness is it always is combined with some negative aspect. Swami Vivekananda famously said, all happiness comes carrying a crown of misery on it. There's no pure happiness. Everything comes at a price. You have to work very hard to get something. Then it gives happiness for some time, then it will go away. When it leaves away, it only leaves us with disillusionment and bitterness. And one more problem with this is with age, these things will diminish. We know all these things from the story of Yayati. Earlier, we have seen the story of Yayati. He was a king. And I will briefly recall the story. It's a long story, full story takes a long time. He was a king, and he went on enjoying all the pleasures that only a king can enjoy, with all the resources available only to a king, for a long time. Then, due to some problem, mistake he made, he became prematurely old, lost his youth, became very unhappy. Then he seeks help and regains youth. His son gives him his youth and takes away Yayati's old age and goes away. With renewed youth, Yayati continues to enjoy for a long time all the pleasures that only a king can enjoy. That youth also faded away. With time, youth goes away, old age comes. When old age came second time, the king reflects on his life, long life. Being a thoughtful person, Yayati says to his wife, Devayani, I have enjoyed pleasures more than any other human being can ever enjoy for a long time. Yet the pleasures, the desire have not gone away. To get rid of desires, fulfill desires by fulfilling them is as futile as trying to quench a fire by pouring ghee on it. A desire comes, I fulfill it, will not go away, it will come back with a stronger demand. That's the nature of desire. That's the nature of worldly happiness. Those are the problems. In all these things are succinctly explained in one couplet in the Gita, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, verse 22. That has come before many times. Excuse me. There, Gita 5:22, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, this can They are severely limited in duration and they are highly conditional. They will not bring lasting happiness. That verse is very interesting. Very short couplet, but a lot of things are packed in it. There Sri Krishna says, Ye hi samsparshaja bhoga dukkhayo naya evate adyantavantah kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Samsparshaja bhoga means happiness that comes from outside objects. Sparsha means contact with some other object. Does not come from within. For me to be happy, I have to have some property, which is an outside object. I have to have another person to make me happy. And I have to have food and clothing and entertainment, outside things to make me happy. That kind of happiness coming from outside is very fleeting because that contact will go away. And same contact will not bring happiness. What brought us happiness at one time, the same thing will bring misery at a later time. That from experience. That's not true happiness. So what does a wise person do? Buddha, Teshu naramate. In this kind of worldly happiness, a wise person does not take any delight. He does not seek them. He does not hanker for this worldly happiness. In this 8th chapter of the Gita, Sri Krishna, the Lord who created the world, he himself says, this world is a house of misery, an impermanent house of misery. In chapter 8, verse 50 in Gita, Sri Krishna says, this world is Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam. Dukkha means residence, house. Dukkha means misery. This world is a house of misery. Ashashvatam, it is impermanent. Everything will change in time. Something is there today, tomorrow there is no guarantee it will be there. The Lord himself who made this world, he is saying that there is no happiness in this world. We are trying to seek happiness in that world. The second place where the same thing Sri Krishna says in the 9th chapter, Gita, verse 33, 9:33, there he says, Anityam asakam lokam. Lokam is this world. Anitya is temporary. Asukha has no happiness in it. Sukha means happiness. Asukha means no happiness. When he himself says there is no happiness in this world, we are trying to find happiness in this world. What a futile attempt it is to find happiness in all these things that this world can offer. Sri Ramakrishna said in the Gospel, page 472, this world is like a hog plume. The hog plume has only pit and skin, and after eating it, you suffer from colic. And in another place, Sri Ramakrishna said, this world is a place of terror. Swami Vivekananda said in one of his lectures, happiness presents itself before man wearing a crown of sorrow on its head. Nothing comes free. He who welcomes happiness must also welcome sorrow. They all come in a package. You can't get pure joy in this world. And yet, majority of people strive to find happiness where the Lord himself has said it cannot be found. In the Kathopanishad, there is a very moving incident. The little boy Nachiketa went to the Lord of Death, Yama, and seeks self-knowledge. Nachiketa asks Yama, sir, what happens after death? Does something survive other than the body and the mind which go away? Or is that the end of human existence? Profound question for a young boy. Yama didn't want to answer the question for two reasons. Yama's reason for not answering the question right away was, is this boy asking the question seriously or is he asking to impress me? Sometimes people ask questions to impress the speaker. Is he doing that or is he serious about it? Second reason Yama didn't want to answer right away is, if the is really sincere, if the boy is sincere, and if the answer is given, is he capable of understanding it? Does he have the background to understand the profound answer to this question, namely self-knowledge? So Yama wanted to test whether he is a fit candidate to receive this knowledge he is seeking. So what does Yama do? He offers him a lot of things to the boy Nachiketa. Yama says to Nachiketa, the boy, I'll give you a very large a kingdom as you want. I'll give you queen and army, horses, chariots, elephants. I'll give you all kinds of facilities for enjoyment that you can have, dances, music, and everything I'll give you. Please take all these things and a long life to enjoy all these things. And be happy. Don't bother about death because you're too young to worry about death. Please take these things. Any ordinary person would have grabbed all these things and gone away gleefully, but not Nachiketa. He was made of different stuff. He says, Sir, he said, the boy had the temerity and the courage to tell Yama on his face, I don't want any of this, you keep these things for yourself. Remember telling a little boy, telling Yama, when these things are offered, keep all the dance and music for you. I don't want all these things. Why does he want all these things? He says, today these things are there, tomorrow they'll go away. Shobhava martyasya yadantaka et. Shobhava means tomorrow they are not there. Youth is there today, tomorrow I'll become old. Property is there today, kingdom is there, tomorrow it may be snatched away by another king. Tomorrow queen is there, today queen is there, princes are there, tomorrow they may leave me or I may die or they may die. That's not permanent. I don't want these fleeting things. Second reason why Nachiketa does not want all these things is very, very insightful reason he gives. Nachiketa, the boy says, Sarvendriyanam jarayanti tejaha, these sensory pleasures, queen and food and money and chariot and everything, they will only give happiness for some time. In course of time, they will deplete the acuity of the sense organs to enjoy them. For example, food and other pleasures, sensory pleasures. When one is young, in good health, one can enjoy all those things as much as one wants. But for how long? When old age comes, everything is there, but we lose the ability to enjoy. So what good is that? Third reason why Nachiketa does not want all these things Yama offered was Apijivitam sarvam alpameva. However long a lifespan you give me, one day it will end. It's a finite duration of time. Sooner or later, death will come. It may take, I may live for a long time, but even after a long time, one day I will have to die. So that is temporary. However, has found that keep all these things for yourself. Fourth thing Nachiketa says, why he does not want is, no matter how much possessions, property, money a person has, there is no contentment. Greed. If a person has $1 million, you want $1 billion. If it's $1 billion, you want to earn $10 billion. That way you want more. There's no end to greed. The mind never becomes fulfilled. It always hankers for more, no matter how much you have. That's the nature of human mind. Navityanatarpaniyo manushya. Human being cannot find satisfaction by money or anything like that, which money can buy, property, relationship, etc. So for these reasons, seeking happiness in what this world has to offer is not the wisest thing we can do. So that's what the majority of people do. Then what else is the way? I still want to be happy. And I know these things will not give me happiness. So what else can I do to find happiness? Second kind of happiness comes now, which Sri Ramakrishna and other teachers have talked about. It's called the joy of worship, bhajanananda. Bhajana means worship of God. The joy of worship is the joy one experiences when one worships God in any way. Numerous ways are there to worship God. Let us see how this brings happiness. Traditionally, there are 4 kinds of worship. According to tradition, first kind of worship is ritualistic worship. It's called Pratima Puja. Ritualistic worship, we keep a symbol, a representation of the divine, invoking divine presence in that symbol. It may be a cross, it may be a soligramma, a stone, it may be a photo like we have here, or it may be an image made of clay or gold or some other material. It may be a diagram like Sri Chakra that worshippers of Sri Vidya do, invoking divine presence in that symbol. Pratima Puja, offering various offerings, chanting mantras. Offerings can be few and simple, 5 offerings, sandal paste, flower, incense, lamp, and food, or it may be 10 offerings, 16 offerings, 60 that we have seen before. These are all ritualistic worship, one category of worship. They all bring joy. People do it every day. Some people in their homes, every day in worship, in temple, they do all this worship. There's one kind of worship that brings joy. Second kind of happiness worship is japa and meditation. Japa, the repetition of God's name or mantra. This is highly extolled. This practice of repeating God's name or mantra, this practice of repeating God's name or mantra is highly extolled as a very effective way to find joy of the self. A lot has been said about japa and chanting hymns describing glories of God. Well, we will not go into details now. Third kind of worship is mental worship, Manasi Puja. Manas means mind. We recreate the whole worship mentally. Nothing is there. No, there is no paraphernalia outside. We sit down, close our eyes, and recreate the whole worship, mental worship. The fourth kind of puja worship is meditating on one's own self as a divine self. That's the highest kind. In the first three kind of worship, there is a duality, separation. I'm a devotee of God. I'm worshipping God. He is separate from me. That separation is there. In the fourth kind of worship, that separation goes away. I am saying I am one with Him. I am so aham. I am He. Aham Brahmasmi. That kind of meditation is very difficult, only suitable for a small number of people. These are all various kinds of worship. The practice of repeating japa, God's name or mantra, is very common in Hinduism, Vedanta tradition, also in Buddhism. Buddhists also do japa. They have mantra, Om Mani Padme Om, like that. They have mantras which they repeat constantly. It's also common, not so much in Christianity, but in some sects. For example, in Russian Orthodox tradition, the practice of repeating Jesus mantra is very common. Constantly they repeat Jesus mantra. Jesus Christ, Son of Lord God, have mercy on me. Or Jesus Christ, have mercy on me. This Jesus mantra, they repeat with the help of a rosary. It's very common. And that brings great joy. Eventually it leads to purification of mind, leads to God realization. Mantra alone can do that one. Swami Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, others have extolled the efficacy of mantra itself by it's independent, by itself is an independent, complete spiritual practice. It's repeating mantra or God's name all the time. That brings great joy and leads to ultimate bliss. Any combination of these various types of worship can bring great joy. Now, unlike the physical worldly pleasures which we saw before, this kind of happiness that comes from worship does not deplete the sense organs. They bring great joy and they pave the way for the highest kind of joy which is yet to come, the joy of the self. They're a bridge between worldly pleasures and the supreme infinite joy coming from knowing the self. When Narendra or some other devotee used to sing devotional songs, Sri Ramakrishna would go into samadhi. It would bring him so much joy that the physical frame could not contain the joy. The whole personality would freeze and go into samadhi. Just listening to somebody singing devotional songs. That much joy this kind of worship brings. This is called, Sri Ramakrishna said in the Gospel, page 497, This is called Bhajanananda. Bhajana means worship. The bliss of devotee in the worship of God. Through worship, devotees receive grace of God and then his vision. Then they enjoy Brahmananda, the bliss of Brahman. The joy of worship paves the way for Brahmananda, the joy of the self. Chanting the names and singing the glories of God, unlike really ritualistic worship, requires no paraphernalia. The chanting does not have to be done in Sanskrit, can be done in any language. Anytime, any place, under any conditions, one can chant the names and glories of God. There are no requirements, there are no rules for chanting God's name. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prahlada, and Narada, all these great teachers are given instructions on how to chant God's name. Sources for chanting hymns are so many. We have seen them before. The Vedas, they have hymns. Vedic hymns are there. People chant them, some people chant them every day. Vedic hymns or Rudram, Chamakam, Purusha Suktam, Naurani Suktam, Devi Suktam, Durga Suktam. These are all Vedic hymns. They have to be chanted properly, and some training is required to chant Vedic hymns with proper intonation. Secondly, Puranas, mythological scriptures, also contain many hymns. For example, the most famous hymn in a Purana, a mythological hymn, is the Chandi. Chandi is the glory of the Divine Mother. It has three names. Common name is Chandi. People refer to it as Chandi. It has two other names. It's called Durga Saptashati. Saptashati means 700 hymns, 700 stanzas describing glory of Divine Mother Durga. And during this season, Durga Puja season, it is chanted by many people. The glory of Divine Mother Durga is also called Devi Mahatmyam. Devi means Divine Mother. Mahatmya means glory of Divine Mother. So the Chandi comes from Markandeya Purana, one of the 18 major Puranas. The other famous hymn coming from Puranas is Lalita Sahasranama. Lalita is a Divine Mother in her benign, beautiful aspect. Most beautiful aspect of Divine Mother is Lalita, Tripura Sundari. Her glories are described in 1,000 names. Sahasranama means 1,000 names. That comes in the Brahmanda Purana. So those are different kind of hymns. The epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata, they also contain hymns. The most famous hymn contained in the Mahabharata is Vishnu Sahasranama. Vishnu Sahasranama. Sahasra means 1,000, Nama means name. 1,000 names of Vishnu. In Hinduism, in the devotional heritage, there are lists of names of God. List of 1,000 names of various deities. Ganesha's 1,000 names, Rama's 1,000 names, Vishnu's 1,000 names. These are all chanted by people. 1,000 names of the same deity, every name indicating one aspect of the divine glory, infinite glory. Chanting such hymns will purify the mind. So those are the hymns coming from the epics. In the Ramayana, there is a very famous short hymn, only 32 stanzas. It's called Aditya Hridayam. Aditya means the sun, source of all energy. The life on this planet is sustained by the energy provided by the sun. So when the Ramana war was going on between Rama and Ravana, when Rama saw Ravana face to face, even Rama became a little bit diffident, somewhat like Arjuna. What happened to Arjuna in the Mahabharata war? Until then, the armies were fighting. Rama's army was fighting with Ravana's army. Finally, they came face to face. Ravana came to the battlefield and were facing it. Then, when Rama saw Ravana with 10 heads and 20 arms and so many weapons, even Rama momentarily lost his confidence. The great sage Agastya was watching all this. He noticed Rama's loss of confidence. He says to Rama, "Oh Rama, don't worry, I will teach you a hymn, a short hymn, in praise of the divinity in the sun. You chant the hymn 3 times and you will get back your confidence." So Agastya teaches this hymn. This hymn is called Aditya Hridayam. Aditya means sun. A short hymn, 32 stanzas, describing glory of the sun. Rama chants it 3 times and gets back his confidence, and quickly he takes care of Ravana. That hymn comes in the Ramayana. Then there are numerous other devotional hymns, songs and hymns composed by innumerable saints, holy people in so many different languages from all parts of India in all centuries. Countless number of hymns are there in many languages. By chanting them, mind becomes pure and paves the way for, takes us closer to God. Worship of any kind, unlike worldly pleasures, does not agitate the mind. Worldly pleasures, after some time, they become jaded, body becomes unable to enjoy them anymore. Devotional singing, devotional joy does not have that deepness. It makes the mind stronger and purer and paves the way for the highest joy, the joy of the self, which we are going to discuss now, the third kind of joy. It's called Brahmananda or Atmananda. As you saw at the beginning of this morning study, our true nature is that. Our true nature is Satchidananda, infinite joy. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, infinite is the joy of the self. And we are that, we have always been that, we are that even now. But we don't know it. That true nature of ourself is masked because of Maya or whatever explanation philosophers give. If I can only discover, experience our true nature, then all seeking will stop, because that joy is inherent, internal. It cannot be lost. Anything that can be gained outside can be lost. Happiness coming from property, possessions, relationships can be lost because they are all coming from outside. That kind of happiness depends upon other party responding. But that problem is not that intrinsic joy. It's our true nature. We are that. We can't lose it. We can't lose ourselves. Our true nature is joy, Ananda, Satchidananda, infinite joy, unconditional joy, eternal joy. That we are. If you can only discover that and experience it, that's the highest thing. There's nothing that surpasses that one. In the Gita, Sri Krishna says in the 6th chapter, by achieving that joy of this self, there's nothing higher that can give greater joy. You cannot add anything more to infinity to make it a bigger. Infinity is infinite. And we are that infinite joy is us, is within us, it is us. We are that. We have to discover it. So in the Upanishads, they declare that real, unconditional, eternal, and infinite intrinsic joy can be found only in the self, within each one of us, and not in the world outside. All the happiness that comes from outside, as you saw before, they have severe limitations. They are not permanent, they are conditional. In his lecture, Swamiji gave a lecture, The Real Nature of Man, very famous lecture, The Real Nature of Man. In that lecture, delivered in London, Swamiji said this one. I read the quotation. Happiness is what everyone is looking for, but majority seek it in things which are evanescent and not real. No happiness ever was found in the senses. There never was a person who found happiness in the senses or in the enjoyment of senses. Happiness is only found in the spirit. So we are seeking it in the wrong place. Everybody is seeking happiness. There's nothing wrong with that one. Our true nature is happiness. It's our birthright. We have to be happy. But we are seeking it in the wrong place where it cannot be found. The Lord Himself, who made this world, said this world is a place of misery. In the Gita, 8th and 9th, we saw those things. And we are seeking happiness there. Futile attempt. So look at it where it can be found. Seek it where it can be found, and you will find it. Worldly pleasures are fleeting, highly uncertain, highly conditional. Joy of worship, while also temporary, purifies the mind and paves the way for the joy of the self. It's a bridge. The infinite and inexpressible nature of the joy of the self is graphically described in the Taittiriya Upanishad. It's a very long description. There is not much time to go into it. But briefly, it is like this. Imagine that there is a young man, strong, well built, well educated, in good health, youthful, who has all the property of the whole world. Whole world's property is in his possession. How much happiness can such a person get? Everything he has. Whole world's property is his property. Youthful, strong, well built, intelligent. The happiness that such person can give is 1 unit of human happiness. Nobody has that kind of happiness. That's a hypothetical situation, describing a situation. Ideal human happiness, 1 unit. 100 times that kind of happiness is 1 unit of happiness that Gandharva can get. Beings a little bit higher than human beings. The Gandharvas are of two categories: Manusha Gandharva, Deva Gandharva. One category of Gandharvas, they can get 1 unit of happiness, which is equal to 100 units of happiness of such an ideal human being. And the second higher category of Gandharva get 1 unit of happiness, which is equal to 100 units of the Manusha Gandharva. Then 100 units of the Deva Gandharva Ananda, you get the Indra, the god of the gods get it. 100 units of their happiness, Indra gets. Indra is the head of all the gods. 100 units of Indra's happiness, Brahaspati, the teacher of Indra, teacher of all the gods, Guru, he gets it. Like this, it goes on multiplying the power of 10 to the power of 2 every time. And the joy that comes from knowing the self, Atman, from within is inexpressible, infinite. We can't quantify that and put a number on it. That kind of joy. That is expressed nicely in the Chandogya Upanishad also. In the Chandogya Upanishad, there is a famous conversation between Narada and the great sage Sanat Kumara. Narada, the great sage, himself was unhappy. If ordinary people like you and me are unhappy, that is understandable. But Narada was unhappy. He had seen Vishnu and everything. He had access to Vishnu and all the 3 worlds, wherever he could go. Such a person became unhappy. So he goes to Sanat Kumara, a great sage, and asks him, Sir, I have studied all the scriptures, but still I don't have happiness and peace. Please teach me how to find happiness. Narada's question. Sanat Kumara was a very skilled teacher. He does not right away start a disquisition on happiness. He asked Narada, what have you studied? What do you know? Tell me. Then you see, I'll see if anything can be added to what you already know. Narada reels off a long list of subjects. Everything from astronomy, archaeology, biology, chemistry, everything, language, linguistics, mathematics, astrophysics, everything, zoology. He reels off a long list. I've studied all these things, but I don't know. I don't have happiness. Sanat Kumara takes him to a series of 18 or 19 steps. Every time Sanat Kumara gives one little instruction, Narada goes back and meditates on what Sanat Kumara teaches him, goes back to Sanat Kumara, teach me more, teach me more. That's the hallmark of a true inquirer, not being satisfied with one instruction, but persistent inquiry into the nature of truth from every angle. Narada does it. Finally, this is what final instruction Sanat Kumara gives to Narada. You are seeking happiness, then this is what happiness. This is what Sanat Kumara said to Narada in Chandogya Upanishad. He says, Yo vai bhuma tat sukham nalpe sukhamasti bhumaiva sukham bhumatya vijignyasitavya. Bhuman means infinite. All the world's things we seek in the world, property, pleasure, relationships, all these things are finite. They are there today, tomorrow they are not there. In every way, qualitatively they are finite, duration also they are finite. They cannot give lasting happiness. Finite thing cannot give infinite happiness. Bhumaiva Sukham. What is infinite alone can give you infinite happiness. A finite experience cannot give infinite happiness. It's finite. Bhumaiva Sukham. What is infinite? The self alone can give happiness, infinite happiness. Nalpe Sukham Asti. In limited things of the world, there is no happiness. People seek there where it not be found. That has to be known. Where is the infinity? It is only in knowing the self, which is one without a second. Self is one without a second. Ekameva advitiyam. The moment you see a second, another person, another object, different from you, then you are finite. Two infinities cannot exist. Self is infinite and it is only one. Only one can be infinite. The moment you perceive a second object, second person from which you expect to find happiness, that moment you have descended into realm of ignorance and you cannot find happiness there. That state of awareness, unity consciousness, super consciousness, where nothing else is seen, nothing else is perceived, nothing else is heard from, nothing else is known, nothing else agreed, that only can give happiness. Seek that infinite joy in the self. That is the teaching Sanat Kumara gives to Narada. There are more details, and in brief, that is the teaching. As Sri Krishna repeatedly says in the Gita, the same divine presence is present in all, in the same way, not more in some, not less in others. The difference in manifestation is there. Some people can manifest God's presence more, others can manifest less. Like sunrays falling on all the objects in the same way, some objects can reflect it more, some can reflect it less. In the same way, every one of us, including animals and plants, have the same divinity. But every one of us cannot manifest the divinity in the same way, to the same extent, some more, some less. If you examine the lives of great saints, in their life you can clearly see the divine presence. They manifest it more clearly. Their minds are pure. They reflect all the divinity in them. An ordinary person, is in him also the same divinity is there, but remains masked under layers of ignorance. Everyone can purify their mind and enjoy their supreme bliss. It is inherently presentness. We don't have to gain it from outside. If it's something which is absent now, if it's something that has to be obtained by effort, then it is not. It is not. It's finite. Anything that comes from effort is finite. Something that's inherent is infinite. Present always. Was never absent. Will never be absent. That is our true nature. That's what we are. True joy, true ananda, true bliss. If you can only know that one, then all seeking will stop, will enjoy that one. That is true happiness. Therefore, the joy of the self is intrinsic in everyone, birthright of everyone. It's not something that is absent now to be acquired by effort. This is explained in the Upanishads and the Gita. This Atmananda, Sri Ramakrishna said in the Gospel, the realization of God gives 10 million times more happiness than the most intense pleasure one can get on the physical plane. Swami Vivekananda said, it is the same happiness as in everything else, but when a man seeks it in something which is finite, as most people do, then only a spark of it he can experience. Then Swamiji says this, the thief, when he steals something from somebody, gets the same happiness as the man who finds it in God. But the thief gets only a little spark of it with a mass of misery. The man who seeks it in God gets the infinite happiness, unconditional happiness. So seek it where it can be found. Real happiness is in God. In us, we are that. If you seek it, then we will find it. Seek it in the world outside, we will not find it. Only misery. Now, the last question is how to achieve that bliss of the self. What we have to do to experience the divine self present within us. That should be a topic for another talk. Because there are so many teachers like Sri Ramakrishna have given so many instructions on how to find God, how to know the self. Numerous instructions are there. So we have to find some set of instruction that fits us, suits us, keeping in mind our special requirements and limitations and propensities. You have to practice them diligently. Before I leave, let me read a list of 8 or 9 things that Sri Ramakrishna said. Other teachers have said too. How to seek the joy of the self, how to know God. It's a different topic, but in the minute remaining, I will read the 8 or 9 things Sri Ramakrishna said in the Gospel, all in the first chapter. When M met Sri Ramakrishna for the second time, M asked him 4 questions. And in response to 4 questions, Sri Ramakrishna said 8 things. Then he added 9th thing later. So, first thing is, which he did not say, basic requirements, prerequisites for spiritual seeking of joy in the self. Basic moral purity of character. Yama Niyama, as Patanjali has explained. Truthfulness, non-violence, non-injury, not accepting, not hoarding things, contentment. These are all the things that we have to practice. Basic spiritual discipline, requirement. These are prerequisites. Then, Sri Ramakrishna's list contains, first thing he said is repetition of God's name. That alone can take us to God, bring us infinite joy. That alone is an independent, complete practice in itself. Repetition of God's name and a mantra. Chanting and singing God's names and glories, hymns. Holy company. Doing all work as worship, as Sri Krishna instructs repeatedly in the Gita. Doing all work as offering, as service, without attachment to karma, work on its results. The next thing is diligently and lovingly serving everybody that comes into our life in any capacity whatsoever. Family, parents, fellow human beings, animals, plants, parents, yes, serving everybody, including animals and plants. Seeing God's presence in all. Next thing Sri Ramakrishna said was discriminating between real and unreal, which is something that he said is unique to his teachings. Other teachers like Narada, Prahlada, they did not talk about Viveka, discrimination between real and unreal. Sri Ramakrishna did. Jnana Mishita Bhakti. Sri Ramakrishna's devotion combines jnana also. Next thing Sri Ramakrishna said was developing a strong yearning to see God. A mild desire will not do. We must have a strong urge to know God. And he said prayer in seclusion, meditation in seclusion. Then other disciplines like charity, pilgrimage, ritualistic worship, they can also be done. Some combination of these things has to be done diligently to reach the goal. So we'll stop here. 3 kinds of happiness, and we have studied them. And now I shall say the closing prayer. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may all be happy. May all be free from diseases. May all realize what is noble and auspicious. May no one be subject to misery. Om, peace. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. And may there be peace everywhere in nature. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. All of you stay well, and let us meet next time when opportunity comes. Thank you all, and all the best. Thank you. Thank you, Swamiji.